Hi, Jen here from workwithjenhawkins.com. And in this short video, I wanted to share with you some struggles that me and my husband have had in the past. Just so you know that we are human and we've gone through some things. Even though I didn't include that in my story, I think it's important for people to understand that, me and my husband have gone through struggles. When we first met, I actually met my husband through my best friend. In the sixth grade, I was only 11, 12 years old. My husband was 13. We didn't exactly click in the beginning. He was more of a gangster Snoop Dogg type, and me, I was, quiet, shy schoolgirl, really awkward, and just, didn't really talk to anyone. I met my best friend, his sister, and she just social butterfly, and it really did help me because I was so quiet and shy and scared. She kind of helped me get out of my shell. But anyway, I really didn't like my husband again. To me, he was my brother, so I didn't even look at him any kind of way in that way. Once I turned 18, things changed. I I had my own place. I tried it out. After 2 weeks of my birthday, I moved out and I got my own apartment. I was so excited. I got a scholarship for school and they helped pay for my rent in this little duplex that I had with paper thin walls. And I worked at a video store, and life was good. I felt independent and free. But I don't know what happened. My world kind of changed, and I quit school. I lost my scholarship. I ended up moving in with my aunt. I didn't want to go back home to my parents. And I lived with my aunt, and at that time I believe it really was kind of selfish because I just didn't want to go back to my parents' house. It was a pride thing. But me and my aunt have such a close relationship. We both have that entrepreneur spirit and mind, and we really understand each other well. And I just felt like I had a closer connection with her. She invited me to live with her. And then at that time, my cousin was just a teenager. Typical teenagers borrow your clothes and they don't tell you. And then it ended up in a fight, and my aunt was like, "Sorry, Jen, you can't live here anymore." And at that time, I was so sad because I'm like, I'm going to be homeless. But thankfully, my sister-in-law, Natalie, took me in. And I ended up living with her and my father-in-law, and it was great because me and my pop, he's like my dad. He's an amazing man, the most amazing man I've ever met, other than my own dad, and just a really good person. So they both allowed me to live there, and at that time, my husband ended up moving back home, and we connected from there. We became really good friends. He would invite me places, and we just became friends. And I think that friendship grew to love. And then from there, after 4 years, we ended up getting married. And a year and a half later, we had my daughter. And then the struggles happened. So this is where the struggle happened. Sorry, I go on and on. Anyway, me and my husband were planning to have a child because my stepdaughter would only visit us in the summers, and she had moved to Texas. And I remember when she would leave, I would cry and cry because I really loved her, and we connected and we had a bond. And it was great when she would come and visit us, and it gave me that sense of how being a mother would be like. And that she would come to me and that she loved me, and it just made me sad when she would leave. So I was like, it's time for us to have a baby. I was 23 years old, 22. And so me and my husband tried and tried, and it took so long. And finally, when we gave up trying, we got pregnant. And then when we got pregnant, everything went downhill, which always seems to happen. Either goes downhill as you get pregnant when you find out, or after. And in this case, my husband wasn't happy with his job. He left his job, and he wanted to do law enforcement too. He has his degree in criminal justice, and that was his ultimate goal in life, was to pursue that. And at that time, we it was just me working. I was pregnant, and I was making really, really good income. And in addition to that, I was making commissions. But when I went on maternity leave, I couldn't make commissions because, I'm on maternity leave and we were living off of that. So at that time, I just, I did what I had to do. I supported my husband because I wanted him to be happy, and just like he supports me every day. And that was the only time my husband was ever unemployed, was during that time when he was trying to find who he was. And then we found ourselves having to move in with my sister-in-law again. And it was a really difficult time. We were living in her laundry room. And that's hard for me to say because, I have a lot of pride, but, everything that you go through in your life, it happens for a reason. And that really humbled me. And everyone gets humbled in some way, shape, or form. And that humbled me. I mean, living in the house that we used to live in, going back home and living in the laundry room. It's not like a little shoe, closet laundry room. It was a huge laundry room. Was converted and an extension of the kitchen. So we were right by the kitchen, which was great. But, the fact that we had to live there, it really did hurt. It, hurt our pride. We had to do what we had to do because, we had a new baby. And we had no money. We borrowed so much money, payday loans, everything we could do to survive because my husband wasn't working. It was just me. I wasn't making the commissions. And our accounts were in the negative. And that's when I, finally reached out to my dad. I'm like, oh, Dad, I need help. And that was hard for me because, now that I'm older, I understand it's hard to borrow money. Just don't borrow money from your family. Don't borrow money from your friends. $10, $20, okay. Me and my sister-in-law do it all the time. We always pay each other back, but not, thousands, hundreds of dollars that you can't pay back at that time. You don't know if you're going to pay it back because it really does. It hurts. It hurts because you steep that low to, you put yourself in that bind, and you're supposed to be an adult already, so you're supposed to know how to take care of yourself, and to have to, ask for help, and that's really hard for me to do, is to ask for help when I know that I shouldn't have put myself there in the first place. And, thankfully my dad was there. He's an amazing man. He was in the military for 30 years, Chief Master Sergeant, retired, and, I'm very thankful for him, but even now, I just wish I never did that. And, this is my year to pay him back. I'm so excited. I made that goal. I told him on the phone, I'm like, Dad, I'm going to pay you back. And, that was our struggle. Thankfully, my husband found a job at the detention center, so he got a taste of what criminal justice life would have been like. And amazing benefits, but just being a detention center officer, he kind of lowered his morale. Even though he got a job, we were excited. It lowered his morale seeing, people that we went to school with. We're in a small town of about 50,000 people, but we only have one high school. And most of the people we went to school with are still here. So for him to see his old friends, in the detention center, people killing themselves that he knew, that all gets to you. And, that was our lowest part in our life. I even tried to stay home with my daughter, and because, that was hard, being a mother, and that's your first baby, and you have to go back to work. That was hard for me. And so that was my first pursuit of working at home whenever I had my daughter, and I did try that. I worked at home for a while doing magazine orders for a company. So there is legit opportunity to work at home, but you have to be good at it. You have to be good at sales, and you cannot have no distractions. I thought I could work at home and she could be right next to me in my arm, but the truth is no. It needs to be silent, and at that time, people were knocking on our door, trying to collect our payments, and our phone was ringing like crazy, and it was really bad. I had a 700 plus credit score, and when all that went down, I was down for something. and that was a lot for me. I sacrificed my credit for our family, and which was a good thing that my husband and me didn't combine at that time, because and this is just a word of advice from a past loan officer. If you're gonna get married, do things separately. Not saying that you're gonna get divorced or things, but things happen, and sometimes it's good to have the house on one if you can do it, and then other things on the other, because when you keep them separated, you can still use the other credit if something happens. And that's what we did in this case. Now my husband's credit is amazing because I worked so hard to make sure that we paid all our bills on time on his credit. Mine's building back up. I'm up to like a 660, 680 now, which is great from where I was at. And my husband's his is like really high now, thankfully, because we we made sure that we took care of those debts under him. So just a word of advice, know what you're doing, know what you're spending. Don't put yourself in binds that you can't get out of. And that's where me and my husband messed up. We overextended ourselves. We moved into a house. We bought our TV on credit, everything on credit. We're so excited to have our own place, and it was nice, and people like coming over, and we had everything we needed, and things that we wanted to. But when you build a house of cards, they're going to fall. The wind will blow, somebody will shake it a little bit, and they're going to fall. So be careful, how you spend. Be careful of what you're spending on, and just try to save some money. Good recommendation is T. Harv Eker's Secrets of a Millionaire Mind. With that, I was saving $20 to $40 a day. And $40 a day in 1 month is about $1,200. And when you create that habit, it's amazing. And when you don't put money in, you feel guilty. You're like, oh, I didn't put money in my bank today. And it's a really good habit. So just try to create good habits. Bad things happen to good people, but all of that is for a reason. It's to humble you, it's to give you a story so that other people can learn from. So sorry that this was so long-winded. This is Jen from workwithjenhawkins.com, and just me sharing with you our struggles and the really lowest part of our time. So like, subscribe, comment below. Thanks. Bye.